at the top, kind of a precarious activity. Yeah, and because we have power now on the islands, but it often goes on and off, so we back up power with the solar panels so we can stay on the air. And then we've involved some of the youth in the church as well in being DJs. So this is two of them. These were called our youth interns. After they graduated from high school, they worked with us for a year. So they were doing a program for youth, during the lunchtime. They called it lunchtime. And also it was used, as you've heard about the typhoon that came through. The radio station has been very helpful with that because we're able to broadcast warnings to people. And this year, I was really happy with how it worked with us. I wasn't happy about the typhoon, but we were actually we were one of the first stations in the country to announce that the typhoon was coming. Yeah, the national service came in about 5 days before, but we were 8 days before, just taking off of weather models and that. So originally it was supposed to hit us dead on. That's why we began announcing it immediately, but then it moved south. So used computer models that we were able to, or the satellite pictures off of the internet, and then computer models. That's the one where we picked it up coming in. And then we have our own weather station also, home weather station. So we're able to see the conditions around, and that helps also to help predict what's going to happen. So this is plotting, not the typhoon that just came in, earlier typhoon that went to the north of the Philippines. So we're able to give them information and possibilities of when it's going to hit and where it's going to hit and how fast the wind speed will be. So I'm learning to be a meteorologist also. So DJ, meteorologist, pastor, construction worker. So now what we're doing mostly, the main focus is training leaders, because Jesus wants us to make disciples, not just to go and do the work, but to teach other people to do the work. So this was missions training that we did, or workers training we did for people in the church, get them involved. Then we began called a discipleship training school for people who wanted to learn more and get involved in service. So these are just some pictures of some of my teaching in that. Some of the leaders in the church. So we did it all over. And those are a couple of the leaders. Jonathan on the left, he's kind of my right-hand man, and then Cesar, he's one of the new leaders in the church. So I've turned things over to them while I've gone. Then we began called Youth Internship Program, which I mentioned earlier, which is the youth that they're just out of high school, that usually they leave the island either to work or to go to school. But we give them the option of staying for a year and being trained in ministry. And we give them an allowance while they're there, and we help them save up money for their schooling. So these are some of the youth that got involved in our youth internship program. Not all of these are, we had 6 this last year, so some are just other youth that joined from this training. But we train them on the radio and have Bible teaching to them, Bible survey and leadership, and then they get involved in Sunday school, the day vacation, Bible school, radio, and then agriculture, another one that we started, teaching them how to do organic agriculture. And so then the Lord opened the door for us to move into other livelihood development. So we started a program called KC-Med, which is a micro-enterprise organization for the people in the church, where they can have a savings, because people don't have enough money to save in the bank on the mainland. So we opened it, they could just with 10 cents open an account, and we give them 5% interest on their savings account every year. If they do a time deposit, they can get 7% interest, so that's pretty good interest. But what we do with the money that they give is we pool it together and we buy cattle or calves on the island, and then we give those to different people to raise. And so it takes about 2 years for them to grow, and then we sell it, and then half the profit goes to the person who raised it, and then half goes back to this. That's what we use for the interest. So that way, doubly, they get interest, and they can also get a livelihood. So it was just a way of helping to multiply what they're doing. So those are some of the cattle. And then we've recently, as I mentioned, moved into agricultural too, trying to help them learn better how to grow vegetables. Because they mostly grow corn, but it's depleting the resources of the land. So they're getting harder and harder. It's becoming harder and harder to get a good crop. So we started to teach them how to do organic agriculture. So we got this piece of property there. It's just really loaned to us. It's not ours, but they allowed us to use it, where we plowed it up, and we just started experimenting with different ways to grow vegetables. You can see this is okra, especially okra in Indonesia also. But this is planting it two different ways, one using compost and one without, and you can see the difference on the left-hand side. Is there a pointer on this? Yeah. The left-hand side is much higher than this one. So we were using that to show them that if they will do certain types of agricultural techniques, they can really increase their yield on the island. And so this is one of our plots where we planted things different ways and then plotted how much yield we got so we could get the best way to plant the crops. We did some also on rooftops because some of the fishermen on the island don't have land, but they have other places near their house. So we found which types of plants we could do well in plastic bags. This is another experiment with a watering system for one of the types of vegetables there. This is making carbonized rice hulls, which is burning the rice hulls, carbonizing them, and then we mix that with the ground, with the soil to improve the texture. So you have a really hard clay soil, but this helps the roots penetrate better. So I'm becoming a farmer also. And so this is a group from our church that underwent the training in how to do agriculture, organic agriculture. Then we were able to have a small budget to give each of the families to start their own organic gardens. So they're still going strong at this point. So this is part of the training of how to make compost. Usually what they do in the rice fields is the rice straw they just burn, but you can turn that back into fertilizer. So we're showing them how to take the rice straw and then collect the cow manure and the carabao manure and mix it together with different types of leaves and come up with a good organic fertilizer for their plants. And so this is some of the crops that we had. On the side, this is romaine lettuce. Actually, we were able to plant an area of 150 square feet. And we got as much profit off of that as one half hectare of corn. So it was just a small area, but we made as much profit as a huge field. So that's the kind of thing that we were trying to teach the people. We're still in the process of doing that. And then the final is coming up with other livelihoods for people on the island. This is making handmade greeting cards. These are a couple of our youth interns. And then some of the ladies in the church that make cards out of handmade paper. And then we export. We're just starting. It's not really very big. Just a few churches in the States will sell them for us. So that's kind of a summary. I don't want to take too much time. They probably already have. But that's just some of the doors God has opened to us. And just how we've seen God work since we've been there. And I just discovered when we'll step out to follow Him, He often has doors beyond doors. And when you step out, you never really know what He's going to do. But if you're available, He does a lot of things. So I didn't really have much here about the typhoon. I heard in the introduction you're interested in hearing more about that. Just kind of a summary. That hit south of us, and I think you know kind of the disaster that hit. We went to a place in southeastern Samar called Hernani, which was a town of 5,000 people, and 300 were killed in that, just mostly from the waves that came in. And I mean, it is really a disaster. But the Lord is really working too, and it's been amazing how He is mobilizing people to come and help. When we went there, we rode on the top of a bus, a mini bus, because it was full of relief. And we saw all along the road different groups, doing relief, helping to build things. But the disaster is so huge. I know it's going to take months, if not years, to repair everything. It's just the entire area was just wiped out. Hernani, there were only a few of the houses really left in it. More on the inland, but on the coastal area there were only a few that were even remained standing, mostly from the waves that came in. It was really, I think, a disaster, mostly not only because of the strength of the typhoon, but there just wasn't good information given to the people there. Many people were unprepared when it hit, which was crazy, because it was known far in advance where it was going to hit and how strong, but bad communication. And it just really spoke to me, actually spiritually too, how people need to be warned, of God's judgment on the world too. And many are not prepared for that. But, I guess this church is getting involved in that somehow, is it? Anyway, it's greatly needed. And on behalf of the Philippines, I really thank you for anything the church is doing to assist the people there in the southern Philippines. And continue to pray for them, not only for the physical restoration, but also for spiritual. Because I've seen many times when God works after disaster, many people come to know Christ. People are very open to the gospel. And so pray for the churches that are ministering also in those areas, that they can really share God's love with the people. Not only food, but also the gospel, that many will come to know Christ. So, thank you.